The night my wife came home from the hospital, she made herself a cup of tea. Not because she wanted tea. I know that now. She made it because she needed something to do with her hands while she told me that our baby was gone. She stood at the kitchen counter in our house in Austin, Texas, with her back to me, filling the kettle, and she said the words into the cabinet above the sink like she was reading them off something. The pregnancy didn't make it. I'm so sorry, Marcus. I know how much you wanted this. I sat down at the kitchen table. I did not cry right away. I just sat there watching her make tea she did not drink, in a kitchen that had been full of something 20 minutes ago that was not in it anymore. And I thought, this is the worst night of my life. I was wrong about that. The worst night came later. The worst night came on a Tuesday. But I am getting ahead of myself. My name is Marcus. I am 34 years old. I was born and raised in Austin, and I want to tell you something about the man I was before all of this, because it matters to everything that comes after. I am not someone who quits. I am not someone who walks away. I am a civil engineer by profession, and I have spent my entire career building things that are designed to last. Bridges, drainage systems, load-bearing structures that have to hold no matter what comes at them. I believe in foundation. I believe in patience. I believe that if something is worth having, it is worth working for. That belief almost destroyed me. I met Kayla in the summer of 2019 at a rooftop bar downtown during a friend's birthday. She was standing slightly apart from the group when I first saw her, looking out at the Austin skyline with an expression I could not read from across the roof. Something between contentment and calculation, though I did not know enough then to tell the difference. She was 30 years old. She had dark hair and a laugh that arrived like it surprised her every time, and she asked better questions than anyone I had met in years. We dated for 18 months. I proposed at Barton Springs on a Sunday morning in February of 2021, just the two of us, before the park got crowded, the water that particular shade of green it gets in winter. She said yes before I finished asking. My best friend Derek sent me a text at 9:15 that morning that said, "Well?" I sent back a single thumbs up, and he called me immediately and said, out loud, to no one in particular, "Finally." We got married in October of 2021 at a venue outside Dripping Springs. 80 people. My mother wore blue. Kayla walked down the aisle to a song she told me she had chosen years before she met me. Because she always knew, she said, what she wanted her wedding to feel like. I believed her. I believed everything she told me. That is the thing I have had to make peace with. Not the betrayal. The belief. The absolute structural load-bearing belief I placed in a person who had decided, somewhere along the way, that my belief was a resource to be used rather than a gift to be honored. But I am getting ahead of myself again. The first thing I noticed was a Tuesday. Not a specific Tuesday, just Tuesdays. The pattern. I am someone who notices patterns. It is what I do professionally. It is, Kayla used to say, both my greatest quality and my most exhausting one. And somewhere in the fall of 2022, about a year into our marriage, I noticed that Kayla's Tuesdays had started to fill up. Dinner with a girlfriend, a work thing, a networking event, a yoga class she had signed up for. Always a different reason. Always on a Tuesday. Always home by 11. I did not say anything. I told myself she was building her life. I told myself I should be glad she had things she was excited about. I told myself a lot of things. I want you to hold that detail. The Tuesdays. It is going to matter in a way I cannot explain to you yet. By early 2023, I had been wanting to talk about starting a family for several months. It had always been part of our plan. The house, the marriage, the children, the future we had drawn together in broad strokes on 100 different evenings. I was 33 years old. The timing felt right. Kayla was not ready. Every conversation ended the same way. Redirected, deferred, turned into a discussion about her career or our savings or the general uncertainty of the world. I gave her time. I am patient. I gave her months of it. What I did not understand, what I could not have understood then, is that Kayla's reluctance had nothing to do with readiness. In September of 2023, she told me she was pregnant. I want to describe what that moment felt like, but I have tried to write it 4 times and deleted it 4 times because no version of it is accurate. The closest I can get is this. I felt the future arrive. Like a room I had been standing outside of for a long time finally opened its door. I called my mother that night. I looked at cribs on my phone until 2 in the morning. I bought a small plant for the room we were going to paint, a peace lily, because someone online said they were good for nurseries. And I put it on the windowsill in there and I stood looking at it for a while. 6 weeks later, Kayla came home from a doctor's appointment and made herself a cup of tea. She told me the pregnancy hadn't made it. She said she was sorry. She said she knew how much I had wanted this. She had her back to me the entire time. I grieved, genuinely and completely and alone, because Kayla's grief, if it was grief, looked nothing like mine. She was sad the way you are sad about something that happened to someone else. Present for the conversation, absent from the feeling. By the following morning, she was on her phone at breakfast, and by the following week, she was entirely herself again, in a way that I told myself was strength and resilience, and her particular way of processing things. The following Tuesday, she went out at 7:30. She came home at 11. She smelled like a restaurant and warm air and someone else's evening. She kissed me on the cheek and said she'd had dinner with her friend Amber from work, and she was exhausted and she went to bed. I sat in the kitchen for a long time. Here's the thing about being an engineer. When a structure behaves in a way that does not match its expected load-bearing pattern, you do not ignore it. You do not assume it will correct itself. You investigate, quietly, methodically, without alerting the structure to the fact that you are looking. I started paying attention. I pulled our joint credit card statements going back 16 months. I am going to tell you what I found, and I want you to understand that I went through this process over 3 nights at the kitchen table after Kayla went to sleep, with a yellow legal pad and a red pen, the way I would approach any load analysis at work. Hotel on South Congress, August 14th, restaurant on East 6th, September 3rd, dinner for 2, hotel on South Congress again, October 7th, jewelry purchase, November 22nd, $430. I never received jewelry in November. I thought back through every week of that month. Nothing. I found the second phone on a Thursday afternoon in December. Kayla had left it in the zippered interior pocket of her gym bag, which I had picked up from the laundry room floor to move it out of the doorway. I felt the weight of it before I found it. That half second of wrongness, the bag heavier than it should have been, and I stood there in the laundry room with the bag in my hands, and I made a choice. I unzipped the pocket. The phone was not locked. His name was Brandon, 35 years old. Regional sales director for a medical device company in North Austin. I know this because the messages told me. I know everything about Brandon because I sat on the laundry room floor for 3 hours and I read 14 months of his life with my wife. And here is where I have to stop. Because what I found was not what I expected. And what I expected was already the worst thing I had ever imagined finding. I expected an affair. What I found was an architecture. Kayla had told Brandon that we were divorced, not separated. Divorced. Finalized 8 months ago. She had told him we had been unhappy for years. She had told him I had become controlling and distant, and that leaving had been the hardest and bravest thing she had ever done. She had shown him photographs of our house. Our house. The one we had bought together, the one I had carried her through the front door of on our wedding night, and described it as her place, the home she was reclaiming after the marriage ended. Brandon believed her. Why would he not believe her? She is very good at being believed. I read all of this on the laundry room floor, and I felt something I do not have a precise word for. It was not anger. Anger is hot. This was cold. This was the feeling of a load-bearing wall revealing itself to be hollow, the structure still standing, still looking exactly like itself, but no longer able to hold what it was trusted to hold. I kept reading. I almost missed it. It was buried in a thread from 6 weeks before. A Tuesday night, 11:47 p.m., the night she had come home smelling like a restaurant and kissed me on the cheek. Brandon had written, "I cannot stop thinking about September. Are you sure about the name?" Kayla had written back, "I'm sure. September, and then we start everything over clean." I read those 2 messages 4 times. Our baby, the pregnancy that Kayla had told me we lost, that I had taken 2 days off work for, that I had bought a peace lily for, had a due date of September 19th. I had photographed the paperwork from her OB's office in the first week, in the bright, stunned happiness of the first week, before everything. September 19th. Kayla was not grieving. Kayla was still pregnant. Just not with mine. I put the phone back in the gym bag exactly as I had found it. I zipped the pocket. I put the bag back on the laundry room floor in exactly the position it had been in. And then I walked to the kitchen and I sat at the table and I looked at the peace lily on the windowsill of the room we were going to paint, and I understood something that I am going to try to say accurately. The miscarriage she had told me about was not our baby dying. It was her cover story for why she was still pregnant. She had needed me to believe we had lost a pregnancy so that when she started showing, I would not be the father asking questions. She had needed my grief as scaffolding. She had built her exit on top of my loss. That was the moment the anger arrived. Not cold anymore. I did not sleep that night. I want to tell you about the following 3 days because I think they are important and because nobody ever talks about this part. The part before you do anything. The part where you are carrying something so heavy that simple tasks become impossible and you cannot tell anyone, and the person who did this to you is sleeping in the next room and making coffee in the morning and asking if you want eggs. I went to work. I sat at my desk and I stared at structural drawings, and I could not make my brain process lines I had been reading for 10 years. I went to the gym at 5 a.m. on 2 consecutive mornings because I did not know what else to do with the thing that was living in my chest. I drove home from work on the second night, and I pulled into our driveway, and I sat in the car for 40 minutes because I could not make myself go inside. My mother called on the third night. She called for no reason. "Just checking in," she said, the way she does sometimes. I answered and she said, "Hi, sweetheart," and I did not say anything for a long time, and she said, "Marcus, what happened?" I said, "I can't tell you yet." She said, "Okay, I'm here." That was all. But it was the thing that got me through the next 8 weeks. Knowing she was there on the other side of a phone call I could not yet make. I called my college friend David the following morning. David is a family law attorney in Austin. We have been friends since sophomore year at UT. He stress bakes sourdough bread when he has a difficult case, and he brought 2 loaves to our first meeting, which told me everything I needed to know about how complicated he thought this was going to be. He listened to everything. He ate nothing. When I finished, he looked at his untouched coffee and said, "Marcus, Texas is a community property state." And then he said the second thing, which I held on to like a rope for the next 2 months. He said, "Do not let her know you know. Not yet. Let her keep going. Every Tuesday she goes out is evidence. Every message she sends is evidence. Every dollar she spends is evidence. Let her build the case for you." So I let her. I documented everything across the following 6 weeks. I photographed every relevant message thread on the second phone across 5 separate sessions while Kayla slept. Never the same night twice. Never more than 20 minutes. I pulled every financial record David requested. I had him subpoena her OB records through the legal process, which confirmed what the messages had already told me. The pregnancy was ongoing. 18 weeks at the time of the subpoena. Healthy. A girl. A girl due in September. And then David told me something that reoriented everything I thought I understood about this situation. He had run Brandon's name through public records as standard due diligence. Brandon was not divorced. Brandon was not separated from anyone. Brandon was married, currently, legally, fully married, to a woman named Jessica, residing at the same address as Brandon, with no separation or divorce filing anywhere in Travis County. I stared at David across his desk for a long moment. Brandon did not know he was the other man either. There were not 2 people in this deception. There were 4. Kayla had built a structure so precisely engineered that every person inside it was load-bearing and none of them could see the others. Kayla had told me she miscarried. She had told Brandon I was her ex-husband. She was carrying Brandon's child, and Brandon was going home every night to a wife named Jessica, who had no idea any of this existed. I asked David if he could find Jessica's contact information. He found it the same afternoon. I called her on a Tuesday evening. Of course it was a Tuesday. Kayla was out. And I introduced myself and told her I needed 10 minutes of her time, and that what I was about to tell her was going to be very difficult to hear. There was a silence on the other end of the line. And then Jessica said, very quietly, "I know who you are. I found your number in my husband's second phone 2 months ago. I have been trying to decide whether to call." We talked for 2 hours and 17 minutes. Jessica had been building her own case with her own attorney, a woman named Rachel, who she described as her college friend and the most prepared person she had ever met in a crisis. Jessica had bank records, message thread screenshots, hotel receipts. She had something else too. She had an audio recording. She had made it in her kitchen 6 weeks before, when Brandon had come home from a Tuesday and said, unprompted, looking out the kitchen window, "Honestly, Jess, the miscarriage was probably for the best. We weren't ready." You know we weren't ready. Jessica had not responded. She had made a sound that could have been agreement, and she had emailed the audio file to Rachel that same night. I sat in my car in the driveway of the house I shared with my wife, and I listened to Jessica describe that moment, and I thought about Kayla standing at the kitchen counter, making tea she did not drink, and saying the words into the cabinet, and I felt something crystallize in me that has not softened since. Jessica and I compared timelines. The overlap was total and absolute. Every Tuesday that Kayla had spent with Brandon was a Tuesday that Brandon had told Jessica he was working late or out with colleagues. They had been running the same excuse in opposite directions for 14 months. Jessica and I agreed on 2 things immediately and without any discussion at all. Whatever happened next needed to happen to both of them at the same time, in front of the people who mattered most to each of them. and it needed to be on a Tuesday. Brandon's company held their annual Christmas party on the second Friday of December. Jessica had already found the invitation on his second phone. The venue was a rooftop in downtown Austin, +one's welcome. But here is what Jessica did not know. What I had found in Kayla's messages 3 weeks before. Kayla had been invited to the same party. Brandon had invited her. He had told her it was finally time to introduce her to his colleagues as his girlfriend. He had told her to wear something that showed the pregnancy because he was proud and he wanted people to know he was going to introduce his pregnant girlfriend to his professional network. At the same party, his wife was attending as his +1. Jessica and I did not plan the confrontation. We did not need to. The confrontation had been planned for us by the two people who deserved to be at the center of it, on a rooftop in downtown Austin, on a Friday night in December. We just had to show up. I want to tell you about getting ready that night because it is one of the clearest memories I have from that entire period. I stood in the bathroom of our house. My house. I had already signed the paperwork with David. It was already mine. And I put on a jacket and tie, and I looked at myself in the mirror for a long time. Not because I was nervous. I was not nervous. I was the calmest I had been in 8 weeks. I looked at myself because I wanted to remember who I was in the moment before everything changed. The man who still lived in a house with a peace lily on a windowsill, and a wife who made tea with her back to him, and a grief he had been carrying that was not even his to carry. I wanted to remember him, so I could let him go. I met Jessica in the parking garage below the venue at 8 p.m. She was wearing a black dress. She looked like someone who had decided something. We shook hands. We had never met in person, and she said very simply, "Are you ready?" I said yes. We walked in together at 8:15. The rooftop was full. String lights, cocktail tables, the particular energy of a corporate party on a Friday in December when everyone has had just enough to drink to feel generous. Brandon's colleagues, their partners, a full room of people who were about to have a story to tell for the rest of their careers. Brandon was near the bar. He saw Jessica first, and his expression did what expressions do when the brain encounters something it has not prepared for. It froze for a half second, just long enough. Then he saw me standing beside her, and the freeze became something else. Something I had never seen on a human face in person. I had seen it in structural reports. It is the expression of a load-bearing wall. At the moment it understands it is no longer load-bearing. Kayla was across the room. She had arrived before us. She was standing with a small group of Brandon's colleagues, visibly pregnant in a burgundy wrap dress, laughing at something someone had said. Performing. She was very good at performing. She turned and saw me. I watched her face move through 6 expressions in 4 seconds. I have had a long time to reconstruct the sequence. Surprise, confusion, the beginning of an explanation, the abandonment of the explanation, the recognition of Jessica beside me, and then the understanding of what Jessica's presence meant, and the understanding of what it meant that Jessica and I had arrived together. She understood everything in 4 seconds. That is how intelligent Kayla is. That is also, I have come to believe, what made what happened next so complete. Because she could see it coming, and she still could not stop it. I walked across the rooftop. Jessica walked beside me. 11 people in immediate earshot. I counted them later, I could not help it. I am an engineer. Including Brandon's VP of sales, including 2 members of Kayla's own professional network who had been brought as Brandon's guests, including Derek, my best friend. who I had quietly asked to attend without telling him why, because I wanted one person in that room who I trusted to tell the story correctly afterward. Derek saw Kayla first. Then he saw me with Jessica. Then he looked at Kayla's face, and I watched him understand the entire architecture of the last 14 months in about 3 seconds flat. I stopped in front of Kayla. I said, "I found the phone in December, the one in your gym bag. I read everything. I know about Brandon. I know the miscarriage was a cover story. I know whose baby you are carrying. And I know that the grief you let me hold for 6 weeks was something you manufactured because you needed it to buy yourself time." Kayla said my name, just Marcus. I said, "I know. I also know you told him I was your ex-husband, so I want to introduce you to someone." I stepped aside. Jessica stepped forward. Jessica said, "My name is Jessica. I am Brandon's wife, not his ex-wife. We have never filed for separation. We have never discussed divorce. We live together. And I have spent the last 2 months documenting every hotel stay, every dinner reservation, every dollar of marital money that was spent on whatever this was." She looked at Brandon when she said the last part. Brandon said her name, Jessica. Jessica took out her phone. She pressed play. Brandon's voice came through the speaker at a volume that carried clearly to every person within 10 feet. "Honestly, Jess, the miscarriage was probably for the best. We weren't ready. You know we weren't ready." The VP of sales put down his drink. Derek, to his credit, said nothing. He just watched. Kayla put one hand on the cocktail table beside her. Brandon looked at Jessica, then at Kayla, then at me, then at the 11 people around us who were going to remember this moment for the rest of their professional lives. I reached into the interior pocket of my jacket. I took out the document David had prepared. I held it out to Kayla. I said, "David says hi. I want to tell you what Kayla did next because it is the detail I think about most." She did not cry. She did not argue. She did not look at Brandon for help or at the people around her for sympathy. She took the document from my hand and she held it, and she looked at it for a long moment, and then she looked up at me and she said, very quietly, so that only I could hear it, "How long have you known?" I said, "Long enough to do it right." Then Jessica and I walked to the elevator together and we went home. The divorce took 9 months. Kayla contested the community property settlement with an aggression that surprised even David, which I think in retrospect was less about the money and more about the only thing she had left, control of the narrative. David's response included the OB records confirming the ongoing pregnancy, the complete message thread documentation, the hotel receipts, the hidden spending analysis, and a financial brief calculating every marital dollar spent on the relationship across 14 months. The final settlement awarded me the house, my full share of our joint savings and retirement accounts, and a cash settlement that David described, with characteristic understatement, as comprehensive. Brandon's company became aware of the audio recording through Jessica's parallel legal proceedings. The VP of sales who had been present on the rooftop was on the company's ethics review board. Brandon was placed on administrative leave in January. He was quietly separated from the company in March. Jessica's settlement, David told me, was similarly comprehensive. She got the house too. Different house, same outcome. Kayla moved into an apartment in Cedar Park. Her daughter was born in September. I know her name. I am not going to say it here. I hope she is okay. I mean that with everything I have. That little girl did not choose any of this. She deserves a life that has nothing to do with the architecture her mother built and the night it came down. Update. There is one thing I have not told anyone until now. Not David. Not Derek. Not my mother. 3 days before the Christmas party, I went back and read the very first message in the thread between Kayla and Brandon, the oldest one, the one that started it. It was dated June 14th, 2022, which is the same week that I sat down with Kayla at the kitchen table on a Sunday morning with the good coffee, the kind she liked, and I told her I felt like we were drifting. I told her I missed her. I told her I wanted us to find our way back to each other. She told me I was being dramatic. She went out the following Tuesday and sent Brandon a message that night that said, "I think I'm finally ready to do this." She started the affair the same week I asked her to come back to me. My reaching toward her was the thing that made her decide to go. I have sat with that for a long time. I will probably sit with it for longer. I do not have a clean resolution to offer you about what that knowledge feels like. I just have the truth of it, which is that it happened, and that I know about it now, and that knowing about it has not broken me the way I thought it would. What it has done is make me very clear about something. I built things designed to hold. I believed in foundation and patience and the value of work that is worth doing. I applied all of that to a structure that was hollow at its core, and I kept reinforcing the outside without knowing that nothing I built on the inside could ever hold. That was not a flaw in my belief. It was a flaw in the structure I placed it in. The peace lily is still on the windowsill. I repotted it twice. It is doing better than I expected in a room that gets more light now that I rearranged the furniture. Some things, it turns out, just needed more light. The night my wife came home from the hospital, she made herself a cup of tea. I thought it was grief. It was a Tuesday, and everything she thought she had built on my willingness to believe the best of her came apart. On a rooftop in downtown Austin on a December Friday, in front of the 11 people she least wanted to see it fall. I am a man who builds things designed to hold.